Hi, this is Jaya. In this video, we shall see the summary of The Taming of the Shrew, a play by William Shakespeare. This is a comedy play. In the beginning, we find an induction framing a kind of a play called a kind of history, and this he does only to befundle a drunkard man named Christopher Sly, and he tricks him into believing that he is a lord. And the play is performed in order to distract Sly from his wife, who is actually Bartholomew, a servant dressed as a woman. Now we find that in the play performed for Sly, the shrew is Catherine, who is the eldest daughter of Baptizo Minola, who is a lord in Padua. And many men, including Tranio, they do not want Catherine as their wife because they think that she is unworthy for marriage, and the reason is she has a notorious assertiveness and willfulness. On the other hand, men such as Horensio and Gremio, they are eager to marry her younger sister Bianca. However, Baptista has promised that Bianca is not allowed to marry until Caterina is wed. And therefore, this motivates the suitors of Bianca to work together so that they can find a friend for Caterina as a husband, and then later on they can compete for Bianca. Lucentio, who has recently come to Padua to attend university, falls in love with Bianca. Overhearing Baptista saying that he is on the outlook for tutors for his daughter, Lucentia devises a plan in which he disguises himself as a Latin tutor named Cambio in order to woo Bianca behind Baptista's back, and meanwhile has his servant Tranio pretend to be him. In the meantime, Petruchio, accompanied by his servant Grumio, arrives in Padua from Verona. He explains to Horensio, an old friend of his, that since his father's death, he has set out to enjoy life and also to get married. Hearing this, Horensio recruits Petruchio as a suitor for Caterina. He also has Petruchio present him, that is Horensio, to Baptista, disguised as music tutor named Litio. Thus, Lucentio and Horensio attempt to woo Bianca while pretending to be the tutors Cambio and Litio, respectively. To counter Caterina's shrewdness nature, Petruchio pretends that any harsh thing she says or does are actually kind and gentle. This makes Caterina to agree to marry Petruchio after seeing that he is the only man willing to counter her quick remarks. However, on the wedding ceremony, Petruchio makes an embarrassing scene when he strikes the priest and drinks the communion wine. After the wedding, Petruchio takes Caterina to his home against her will. Once they are gone, Gremio and Tranio, disguised as Lucentio, formally bid for Bianca, with Tranio easily outbidding Gremio. However, in his zeal to win, he promises much more than Lucentio possesses. When Baptista determines that once Lucentio's father confirms the dowry, Bianca and Tranio, that is Lucentio, can marry. Tranio decides that they will need someone to pretend to be Vincentio, that is Lucentio's father. Meanwhile, Tranio persuades Hortensio that Bianca is not worthy of his attention, thus removing Lucentio's remaining rival. In Verona, Petruchio begins the taming of his new wife, Caterina. Caterina has refused food and clothing because nothing, according to Petruchio, is good enough for her. He claims that perfectly cooked meat is overcooked, a beautiful dress doesn't fit right, and a stylish hat is not fashionable. He also disagrees with everything that she says, forcing her to agree with him everything that he says, no matter how absurd, on their way back to Padua to attend Bianca's wedding. And she agrees with Petruchio that the sun is the moon, and along the way they meet Vincentio, who is also on his way to Padua, and Caterina agrees with Petruchio when he declares that Vincentio is woman, and then apologizes to Vincentio when Petruchio tells her that he is a man. Back in Padua, Lucentio and Tranio convince a passing pedant to pretend to be Vincentio and confirm the dowry for Bianca. The man does so, and Baptista is happy for Bianca to wed Lucentio, who is still Tranio in disguise. Bianca, aware of the deception, then secretly elopes with the real Lucentio to get married. However, when Vincentio reaches Padua, he encounters the pedant, who claims to be Lucentio's father. Tranio, still disguised as Lucentio, appears, and the pedant acknowledges him to be his son, Lucentio. In all the confusion, the real Vicentio is said to be arrested when when Lucentio appears with his newly betrothed Bianca, revealing all to be the bewildered Baptista and Vincentio. Lucentio explains everything and all is forgiven by the two fathers. Meanwhile, Horensio has married a rich widow. Now they are three newly married couples, Bianca and Lucentio, the widow and Horensio, and Caterina and Petruccio. Because of the general opinion that Petruccio is married to a shrew, a good-natured quarrel breaks out amongst the three men about whose wife is the most obedient. Petruccio proposes a wager whereby each will send a servant to call for his wife, and whichever comes most obediently will have won the wager for her husband. Caterina is the only one of the three who comes winning the wager for Petruccio. She then hauls the other two wives into the room, giving a speech on why wife should always obey their husbands, and the play ends with Baptista, Horensio, Lucentio marveling at how successfully Petruccio has shamed the truth. And here ends the play. If you have anything more to add on to what I've said, please do write it in the comment box, like the video, share it with your friends, and if you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe and support. Thank you.